you can hear me and see me very well, and we are ready to start. Very good. Thank you so much. So we will study the Gruenfeld. The problem with the Gruenfeld is that it is, of course, we all know it, a powerful weapon for black. And if you press your space button, which means asking your computer to play the first choice all the time in every position, after 35 moves, we will end up in an equal endgame where white is pressing, but nevertheless, this pressure is not enough for the win. This is another clear indication that chess is a draw. So this is the advantage of the Gruenfeld for black, that it is unbeatable. But there are disadvantages. First of all, there are many lines where white can choose from to take black by surprise, and black needs to be prepared for all of them. So the Gruenfeld has practical problems. And secondly, it mainly depends on, in many continuation, it mainly depends on theory. Black should know up to very deep in the endgame, 35 moves of theory. So the best way to play against the Gruenfeld is theoretically, what do very strong grandmasters, how are they playing against the Gruenfeld? They switch lines. They go from line to line because white has 15 different ways to play. They switch from line to line. So here, the question for me was to choose one line out of the many that I know with white, investigate it even further, and create some, find some nice games and create some general conclusions to offer you so that you will be able to play these positions even better. It was clearly a matter of choice. And of course, according to the spirit of these lectures, we wanted a line which doesn't have a lot of theory. I believe I made a very good choice. So let's see. We start with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and d5. This is the Gruenfeld. This is, of course, a totally different opening than this move, bishop g7, which we will examine in the coming lectures today. And he plays here. There are several ways for white to play. What is objectively better? First of all, it has a lot of theory, tons of theory. And secondly, it is still a draw if they play perfectly. I believe I made a very clever choice. We will play knight f3. This has been played hundreds of times. Bishop g7 is pretty much the only move. And out of all the theoretical positions and ideas and variations, I chose this move, e3. This is a very interesting positional move. It appears to be very quiet, but quite often white expands later in the center, and he has a very dangerous initiative. Generally, in the Gruenfeld, there are two main philosophies for white. He may choose a line where he plays e4 on the very first moves. For example, after taking on d5 and playing e4, there are several versions of this philosophy. And then there are lines with e3. All the lines with e3 have the idea generally to stabilize the position first, develop the pieces, and then later maybe push our e3 pawn to e4. This is the philosophy when we play with e3. In this particular position, I chose e3 directly. There are other ways to play, this one and this one. They all have a lot of theory. So we play e3. Now, an important thing to note, let me, in fact, just a second, let me go to the theoretical PGN immediately. So here we are, e3. An important thing to know is that usually a careless Gruenfeld player may play c5 here, and this move is just losing. c5 works after, for example, such moves, or here after many moves, but not directly after e3. So let's have a look at it. This move is immediately refuted. We play dc5. And what is the common idea for black in such positions, if you may know? What does he usually play? in such positions. Of course, this position is in fact out of book. He usually plays queen a5, very good. But in this particular position, he mixed things up. White is simply winning here. We play c takes d5, and now both knight takes d5 and knight e4 are losing for black. For example, if he takes here, queen takes, he happily takes on c3, but we are not going to take with the pawn on c3. We will play bishop d2. White is simply winning. Takes, queen takes, we are a pawn up, and if he tries to take it, now white is winning. Who can calculate the correct continuation? This position is already like +5 or something. How are we winning by force? Rook c1, queen f5, and then what? Rook c1, he will play queen f5, and now this move is winning immediately. He plays queen here and bishop here. Queen c3 is a clever idea, but it's almost winning, but black can castle short. So he avoids the wars. So knight d4 and bishop b5, white is winning. Let's go back. I don't believe you will be very lucky that somebody plays c5, maybe in some bleach game. I don't believe in a standard game, but anyway, we need to know it. So dc5, we take it, and now black tries this move, which is equally lost. We play bishop d2, he takes it, bishop takes c3, and black is completely lost. For example, he takes on c3, we play knight d2. Now black cannot even take on c5 because of rook c1, and he is losing. So here I didn't even know what to suggest. Next move is rook c1 or queen c1. For example, I tried this, which anyway it is +3 or +4, and now we play a move like rook c1, maybe even queen c1, and white is winning, possibly rook c1. And finally, after this, instead of taking on c3, he takes here. Black, don't forget, is a pawn down. What will white play here, please? The simplest move in the world. What will white play in this anti-theoretical position? He will play, of course, queen d4, forcing the queen exchange, and we are one pawn up. So let's go back. After e3, black must castle, and now several moves are played here. Bishop e2, bishop d2, b4. I chose this move. I know this move for years. Queen b3. And now there are 3 or 4 possible moves for black, but only one is good. Black needs to know the best move. By far, the best move in this position is e6. However, many players, as you will see in the game session, even titled and very good players, play other moves. Our plan is with e3 and d4, let me repeat myself, to stabilize the position first, and later we will push our e3 pawn to e4 or our d4 pawn to d5 or both. So let's see what is happening here. First of all, this move, dc4. This move was fashionable for a long time, and even now they play it. But in fact, white has a very nice advantage, at least a small advantage. We take with a bishop. Remember this small rule. If later, if black doesn't take, and we play this move, then when he takes on c4, usually we take with the queen. So only in this position, pretty much, we take with the bishop. Okay, not only, but here we develop the bishop. This is the most natural move. Bishop takes c4. And now black has several tries. We don't really need to know many things, very little things. We just have to understand the positions. So I have mentioned some moves. For example, he goes a6, intending b5 and bishop b7. We are not really afraid of his b5 move. White can just castle, and now, of course, we cannot memorize everything. He plays b5, for example. We go bishop e2, and here white is much better. After this, in fact, black is almost lost. It doesn't work at all. What will white play here? Already so early in the game, black has misplaced the opening, and he is going to lose. We will play a4, of course, forcing the ugly c6 move, and as promised, now we play e4. The position has been stabilized, and we want to push the pawn. This is a horrible position for black, and we don't really need to memorize anything, just to understand the positions. One good thing to know is that after a6, he is not really threatening b5. So that's why we allow it. Another try here could be this one, for example, c5. Then we happily take it. You will see on other occasions, as you will see, we play d5. Now d5 is not possible. He has b5, of course, yes? This is not possible. Let me add it in the comments. Black will play here, of course, yes? Very easy. So we take on c5, and black will lose some time to regain the pawn. For example, he plays knight b7, or he plays here. Look, black's position is really horrible. We can play bishop d2. Another very good and playable move is even this, e4. As promised, only for a few moves we put our pawns on e3 and d4. Later we want to push them. So this is good, but this is even better. And we are taking advantage of his a6 move. Remember this rule. If your opponent has played a move, and a specific move with specific characteristics, and you take advantage of exactly this move and its characteristics, this tends to be very good. This shows that you have played very well. So here we took advantage of his a6 move, and black is losing by force. For example, here is losing by force. By the way, a typical move in this variation, which can become very useful since we have a bishop on c4 and a queen on b3, a typical move can be this. On various occasions, this move is good, and we have some combinations. For example, this one. Do you need to remember all these things? Absolutely not. You just need to understand them. So after queen b3, we are still here. Very nice variation, very easy to learn. We can reach this position by force if our opponent plays the Gruenfeld. There is not much he can do. And he needs to know e6 here. But for the moment, we are examining other possibilities. So he takes it, bishop takes. Again, I try a6. Look, castles. And for example, knight c6. He is threatening to play knight a5. In most cases, I need to prevent that. And the best way to do that, who will suggest one move for white here to prevent knight a5? Knight a5 will not be prevented, but it won't be good anymore. So the best move is bishop e2. What is wrong with this move? If we play here, he has bishop f5. Look, this move, let's learn now the typical ideas. It's not bad, but he can play here. And now we don't want to do those things. When we play e4, we must be absolutely certain about it. Here, for example, maybe he can take, or maybe he can play this move. So, and of course, we cannot play here, knight b4. So the best way to play is bishop e2. I don't move my queen. I will move my queen only if he misplaces his knight and puts it on a5. So white is better. For example, after this, we can play queen c2. We can also play queen d1. One may say, but okay, we have lost some tempi. Bishop up and down, queen up and down. Yes, this is correct. But in order for black to win tempi, he was forced to play bad moves. Black now is very far away from the spirit of the Gruenfeld, which is to strike in the center with c5 or e5. Black at the moment is lacking pawn play, and white is better. Black needs to play active moves because we are, if he plays, I don't know, any move, we are, of course, threatening e4 this time, followed by d5. Yes, such a position, for example, is really horrible for black. Maybe we can even consider this move, but I prefer to take with a bishop. And here, what to play, please? It goes without saying. What should we play? We must play bishop e2. Yes, this is not theory. This is catastrophe in the Gruenfeld. White has a huge advantage. Soon he will play f4. So let's go back, please. We are here after queen b3, we get it by force, and we are examining this variation, which, as I write in the comments, this move is not so good, but it is very, very common even among strong players. Bishop takes c4. Let's suppose he plays c6. Now, are we afraid of b5? We can also castle, but in this particular position, I have the feeling that a4 is the best move. So just one thing to remember, if a6, we are not afraid of b5. If c6, we are not afraid of b5 either, but the best move is this. Okay, there is nothing wrong with short castling. For example, b5, bishop e2, the computer also likes this move, but let's say bishop e2, and for example, knight b d7, again, white is better. Which are the moves to consider? I see two interesting moves for white here. Who will suggest? What is the theory? Again, zero theory. The variations are carefully chosen so that they won't have a lot of theory and they will be good. Yes, not much memorization will be needed, but understanding. That's why we are here for. So, what to play? I see two good moves. This move, no, this is very premature. We are not well developed yet. So the best moves for white, I don't see correct answers yet, are e4. We are ready to play e4. I don't see anything he can do. e4, develop the pieces, occupy the center. Another interesting move is rook d1. Just a second. Rook d1. Because now it's not so easy for black to break with c5 and e5. And finally, yes, indeed, one move is a4. So shall we play such moves? No, we don't want complications like this while we are undeveloped. Yes? So remember, our plan is to play e4 if we see that we can handle it. Yes, e4. Are we blundering something? No. So it is time to occupy the center, but this center may need protection. For example, if he goes here, maybe he is threatening these moves, it's time to push the pawn. And white is better. If he plays this move, now black wants to play bishop e6, but so what? Bishop e6 is not attacking the center, it's attacking the queen. So what to play here, please? What do you think? Let's think for a while. Possibly the best move is rook d1 to protect the center. This is the best move. Yes. I don't want to play here because he may play knight g4. It is a bit early for that. Shall I play h3 intending bishop e3? No, this is very slow. I would like to play here and look, a very typical idea. If he plays here, now he has occupied this square which belongs to the knight, and so we can safely play this move bishop e3. So white in these positions has a huge advantage. Remember, possessing the center with pawns is very good unless our opponent can really attack in the center with his pieces. But here he cannot attack. So let's go back, please. We are here. We said that after castling and queen b3, only e6 is really good, and maybe c6 is playable. But we are investigating this move, which many people will play. We want to castle, strengthen our position, stabilize it, and then start pushing e4, d5. We are examining various possibilities. After a6, we don't have to play a4. After c6, again, we don't have to play a4. So far, we were playing short castle, but this is also very good. I have also added this possibility. For example, knight b d7 and e4. Do I need to remember all these things? No, not at all. We can even castle. Yes, but this appears to be very interesting. Now, I don't see a way for black to attack. For example, if he plays knight b6, what shall we play now? It is very simple. We will go bishop e2. Look at black's knights. These are badly placed. They are not really threatening, especially this d4 pawn. For example, he plays here. We castle. Be careful. I don't want to play this move yet because of knight g4. And I don't want to play h3 yet because it is kind of slow. So we castle again with a big advantage. And if he plays here, of course, we will automatically play which move, please? Who will help us? Who will help us? Which move? We will play rook d1 is also good, but now, yes, I mentioned both moves. This move and bishop e3 and maybe later h3. White is much better here, and the game continues. Very good. So we are here, and we are investigating a6 and c6. Let's try another move. Let's try b6. So we castle and bishop b7. By the way, such moves will not solve black's problems. This is a really bad move. We can even capture it, but who will suggest other moves as well for white here after this bishop a6, like very clumsy random move? So we have several possibilities. What is the theory here? I honestly don't know, and I honestly don't need to know. So I see two good moves. First move is this, to strengthen the center and oppose our rook to his queen. And second move is even this. Even this is very nice. Look, he takes here, for example. We take with the queen, and white has again a very big advantage. Our center is quite safe. He can hardly attack. If he plays c5 here, this appears to be very random. First of all, we have moves like this. We can adjust our strategy either by taking the pawn 2 times or taking the pawn just 1 time, or of course, even pushing here. This strategy is very important in the Gruenfeld, where we want to create a strong central passed pawn after several moves with e5 and d6. If we manage to do that under normal circumstances, white will have a very big advantage. It is generally good to have a strong passed pawn on d6, even if it is blockaded with a knight on d7, for example. Very good. So bishop takes, we are examining b6. Again, it's a matter of understanding. It's not a matter of concrete moves. We castle and bishop b7. Here is one of the very rare concrete moments where if somebody doesn't remember the theory, he can play knight e5 or even bishop e2. However, a very nice move to remember, and a very typical idea, is this e4. This move is working very well because if black captures on e4, we take everything and knight g5. Remember, in this variation, when we have a bishop and the queen targeting f7, we must always keep in mind this threat and this threat. Maybe there is a win in our hands and we are missing it. So here, e4 is the way to play because he cannot capture it, obviously. White is winning. So after e4, I tried this move. Black wants to play knight a5, look, and queen a4. After knight c6, sometimes we can go here, sometimes we can go here, but now d4 is hanging, yes, and sometimes even here to step away from this knight a5 tempo. So white is better, and the game continues. Very good. What if I don't remember this line after castling? What if I don't remember e4, which is the best move? Well, generally, even this move will do. It's not the best because you see black now has a harmonious position. We cannot play e4. We will play these moves and possibly queen c2, intending e4. Again, we have chances, but by far the best move is e4. Okay, so is this difficult to remember? No, it's very easy to remember. In fact, you get here by force. We go queen b3. We know that only e6 is good. We will prove now why only e6 is good. We are examining the other possibilities, which will be very common in your games. And you will be happy to face the Gruenfeld after that. So again, we are still here. Bishop takes, and black has several possibilities. We tried c6 and b6. Let's suppose he plays here, just to try this move. It is totally random. We castle. If it were white to move here, possibly we can play e4 immediately. So I tried a couple of moves for black. For example, c5, this typical Gruenfeld pawn break. We take it. What was the idea of e6? The idea of e6 was exactly this c5, where we cannot push d5. Black was thinking after c5 that we may play d5. So first he played d6, and then we castle and c5 now. But this will not solve his problems. We take it, and after such a move, previously, on a previous occasion, we played bishop d2, queen takes c5, and knight a4, if you remember. But there, black's pawn was on a6. So with this knight a4, we could jump to b6. So what to play here? e4 is the move, right? We played d4 and e3, but we are looking for a good moment to push e4. For example, he takes here, bishop e3, and we just develop our pieces. h3 if we are annoyed by this knight g4 move. But because I see, can I play here? Possibly. And after knight g4, bishop g5. Some calculation now is needed, because I see that soon this move will be played, threatening knight a5. Another possibility is also this move, bishop e2. Do you need to remember anything? No, absolutely not. You only need to understand. Now we will put our rooks in the center. And of course, if he goes here, we will play bishop g5. This is a very nice disturbing move, disturbing black's coordination. For example, after here, we take it. And here I continue the analysis, not for any other reason, because this is anyway an extremely rare position to get, an extremely rare, but I continue because I consider it instructive for the understanding of the position. So knight e1, amazing move. Not at all necessary, but the computer's first choice. We push him back, and we come back to f3. And of course, such ideas are coming. So we return back, queen b3, dc4. By the way, this line is, we are lucky, is a rare line in the Gruenfeld. Your opponents will not know this very well. So bishop takes, and now another possibility, this move. Again, not a good move. We simply castle, we don't even have many things to see. For example, c5, and now we push d5. Again, another typical position where we must know it. We must know the typical ideas. Look, if you see it several times, if a6 we play here, if you see it several times, look, you will understand very well what is happening. So in these situations, when we have our pawn on d5, we allow him to take our bishop. Look, takes and queen takes, white is better, and we are threatening here. And for example, if he plays here, we have several moves. Let's play this, for example, very harmonious and nice move here. And we soon want to play e5, put the rooks in the center, and white is much better. So an important knowledge is that here, usually when we can play d5, we play it. Let's try if a6, a4, of course, yes. And let's try again, which move will I suggest? Previously, we played a6, a4. Now without a6, a4, which move will I suggest, please? Here, I will suggest e4. This is the best move again. So an important idea to remember, this situation can occur after several move orders. So, for example, once again, he takes it, we take with the queen, and we are better. b6 threatening here. No, it's not so simple. We will play here or here, let's say on e1, and we will put the queen possibly here or on b5, let's say here, and no, to a4, I prefer it. And white is again better. Next move is bishop f4, or maybe bishop g5, in the style of which opening, please, is this bishop g5? Who remembers? We randomly put this bishop on g5, but it stands very well there. This is in the style of an opening that we were examining very recently, the Benko. Yes, quite often the bishop can just go there, threatening e7 and all kinds of tactics. Very good. So we are still examining this line to understand the position better. Finally, knight b d7. Previously, it was knight f d7. Again, no concrete knowledge is needed, only to remember the ideas. We castle, even this, I have this e4. This e4 is also very good, threatening e5, but this is like very tactical. For somebody who doesn't want to memorize things, he can castle. And now, I have this move c5, but let's test our knowledge. First of all, if he goes here, this is a very random move. We go bishop e2, and we are better because his knight from b6 is misplaced. For example, here, I would put the queen on c2. If he plays bishop f5, we have e4 with tempo. Sometimes I see this move, which makes sense because black is lacking space and he would like to exchange some pieces, but this will not save him. What should white play, please? Very good. I see two good moves. One move is e4. For example, he takes, we happily take with the queen. Look at the black's lousy knights on b6 and on f6. These are really patcher knights. Instead of hitting in the center, they are targeting to nowhere. We can play e4. We can even play this move. But I don't believe it's necessary, this move, because black is not really threatening our d4 pawn. So here we have a huge advantage. We will preserve the center. Look, he goes here. I would have played this, maybe even this. I want to see h6 and I will play bishop h4. We put our pieces in the center. We may consider this move or just some move developing the pieces, something like this, for example, here. And if he goes e5, the usual response is this d5. This is the usual response. And again, we are better. Of course, this f5 is totally random. This is not the King's Indian. It has nothing to do with this position. I would have played here, threatening knight g5. As, for example, take, knight g5 is just one way to play. Okay, so what I'm pointing out is that this is a matter of understanding. So we castle. And let's suppose that he plays c6. What is the theory here? Zero theory. So let's see, what can we play here? One move to consider is knight g5, but be careful because if this move is not good enough, we destroy our position. That's why I would hesitate to play knight g5. Why? Because we already have a very nice position. So I see other moves as well. One interesting move is this, to stop b5. Remember, because black doesn't know what to do now. If he plays here, he has even lost some tempi. I go d5. He plays here. I go e4. We are much better. Let's try after c6 again, a4. If this, we go back to e2. Of course, we already know that. For example, he goes here. Okay, I'm even threatening a5. He goes here. This is really bad. e4 here and bishop e3 or rook d1. This is really bad for black. And yet many players will play like this. And if you remember, after a6, we are not really afraid of b5, but after b5, he may even continue with c5. So we need to take precautions. I see two interesting moves. We should either stop b5 or stop c5. So let me hear your suggestions, or maybe, is this move good? Well, this needs specific calculation. He will play e6, and now maybe I have some sacrifices. But if I don't have, I don't like it at all. It looks interesting, to be honest, this. He may have to play queen e8. Okay. So let's see. For example, now he threatened, if it was black to move, he would play b5, bishop e2, and c5. This is too much. So what to play, please? Who will help us? One good move is rook d1, because it doesn't stop b5, but it stops c5, for example, here. And I think that an even better move, I'm calculating an even better move is this, finally, to just stop b5, because I don't know what he will do. If he plays here, we will continue again with this move, d5, and next move is e4. If he plays b6, okay, have we seen such a situation? Yes, we have. What can we play? Of course, we will play e4. We are possibly already threatening here. He goes here. Now all these threats together with e5 or this immediately may even be winning by force. For example, here in e6, this is very typical. It may be winning by force. If we suppose that this is not winning by force, then we can play even such a move, rook e1. Yes, next move, we are threatening all these moves. And for example, here, let's better develop the pieces. We have a huge advantage. Black doesn't know where our pieces are coming from. He cannot understand what is happening. Previously, our pawns were on e3 and the bishop was closed on c1. What is happening? And finally, after castling and queen b3 and dc4, we are still examining this variation, which is quite possible. He plays knight c6. Possibly this is the best move, knight c6, intending knight a5. Who can guess white's move here? What should white play? What do you think? We already have some correct answers. Very good. You all found it. The move is bishop e2. I don't move my queen because my queen is more flexible than the bishop, than our bishop. Our bishop should go to e2. After a knight a5 move, our queen has several places to go. So here, again, I'm examining various possibilities. I'm examining here 8 moves for black. 8 moves. But once again, no concrete knowledge is needed, only understanding. For example, rook b8. What kind of move is this? And yet it was played by a 2300 rated player. Black wants to play bishop e6 without blundering his pawn on b7. So we castle and bishop e6. We go queen a3 is good and queen d1 is good. Can I play queen c2? Yes, I can play, but then after bishop f5 and e4, bishop g4 can be annoying. So we play here or just queen d1. If I may ask, instead of this, if he plays here. I see 2 good moves for white. Who will help us? What is the theory here? What you see in front of you, this is the theory. This is how your games are going to be played. So one very good move is this, protecting the center, and we want to play either this or d5 first and then e4. You see, we have 2 plans, e4, which is not working here, and then d5. Quite often you can see d5 and then e4. This is one move, and another very simple move is indeed h3. This is once again horrible for black. You see, now our pawns are on e3 and on d4, but at a good moment, these pawns may be advanced. So another try after knight c6 and bishop e2. Believe me, when we examine all these possibilities, even though you won't remember, I also don't remember, you won't remember many concrete variations, just a few that have made an impression on you only. Still, you will remember the patterns which repeat themselves. And so you will be able to play these lines very successfully. For example, knight a5. This is wrong this time. Look, now we can go to c2 or even to a4. But look, what is the difference? If he goes bishop f5, now we can play e4 and his knight is misplaced on a5, totally misplaced, right? For example, here, e4, and here we may even consider d5, but bishop e3. Let's clarify something, please. This d5 move, we need to be careful. Usually, we play d5 after a c5 move. So let's suppose black plays c5 and our pawn is on d5. Black can break this pawn on d5 only one time, right? With his pawn here and our pawn on d5. Black can break it only one time with e6. However, if we push this pawn here at an inappropriate moment, black can break this pawn two times. His pawns are not on c5 or on e5, so he may play c6, cd5, ed5, and e6 if necessary. Yes, so such a move is very, we need to know exactly where to play it. So here I would have played bishop e3. And for example, knight c6, we may consider d5, but which move to play here? A much better move, please. Which move to play? Simply to preserve the center, right? What to play? Of course, we will play this move, yes, with a huge advantage. Very good. One may ask, should we castle long? Let me tell you, after long castling, I have no doubt that objectively white is better. However, castling long here is a mistake because it is unnecessary risk. When we have good position, a very good position, visibly very good position, we don't want to risk with long castling, which by definition will give play to our opponent. Very good. So let's check again, knight c6, bishop here, some other lines. I have checked everything, even e5. It's simply not working. We take with the knight and we protect it with f4. He has very little bit of compensation, like some checks and here, but in the end we stabilize with a little bit of care. And e4, bishop e3, we stabilize. It's not working at all. Yes. So we are here. Knight c6 is indeed the best move. e5 is not working. I have tried everything, all kinds of moves. For example, b6. So we castle, and here, who will help us now? What to play, please? You see, all different versions of the same ideas. So what to play? We all understand that the move rook d1 should be played to strengthen our center, and then our plan can be e4 and d5, or sometimes d5 and then e4. Very good. For example, here, queen c2. And here, b4 is good. This has been played in one game. And of course, e4 is also good. But b4 is interesting because he's forced to go there. And after a3, again, black doesn't have a pawn break. Very good. So it's a big torture. Here, finally, a move like this one. We castle and e5. Usually after e5, we play d5 unless we can take it and win a pawn. So this is very strong. And e4. One may ask, can black play the typical King's Indian attack with f5? The answer is absolutely not. This is not the King's Indian, this is the Gruenfeld, which means here the center is already, and the queen side, already quite open, both the center and the queen side. So trying to play f5 is extremely slow. We all have all these ideas with knight b5, bishop e3, so black simply cannot do it. And one other try is this, knight d7, we castle. Now, somebody may ask, can I play the computer's favorite move, h4 here? I would call this move h4, again, unnecessary risk, because there is some dynamic play in the center. Playing for a flank attack, unless you are a computer, playing for a flank attack is a mistake, in my view. Black does have some play in the center, some strong play with pieces or with pawns. So we don't really have to play that. A far better move is to just castle. And now, for example, this move has been played, and once again d5 and e4. Or b6, we play rook d1. And here we play d5 according to the computer. White is even winning. Or e4. Very good. Now after e5, please be careful. Now after e5, possibly we won't push d5 because he has knight e4. Now we will take here, this d takes e5 is a playable idea. Yes, it is not so common, but it is still a quite playable idea. So we don't automatically push d5. Very good. Finally, one last try. I tried this move, but I see rook d1. I calculated bishop e6, queen c2, bishop f5, e4. Here it is. Here we even have d5 maybe. So another try is this a5. It has been played one time. And h3, not at all necessary, this h3. Can I play this move? This is kind of unusual. We haven't seen any move like this so far, right? So our main goal is to try and push these pawns. I play h3 in order to stop bishop g4, for example. And here we will play queen c2. And here, this is totally funny. I will happily capture this pawn. Let me tell you that. Let's suppose we are here. Look. And yes, I have this, but let's say we decided to play bishop d2. Look at this, please. He goes a4. This is a very important lesson. And a3. In most cases, it is much better to take on a3. Do not play this b3 move automatically. Black may find counterplay with knight b4. This a3 pawn can be annoying. So here we will capture it because believing that black will take there and then he will put pressure to win our weakness, our a2 pawn is really outer space. No, it's not objective chess at all. So here this is simply horrible. Let's say we play here. We can push a4. Or we can play at some moment maybe even e4 here. And again, we are better. So when you see this a3 move, of course, with the bishop here, we capture it. But even here, very often, this is the move and not b3. Forget about b3. We just take it. Very good. So I believe we are now done with this variation dc4. Let's continue with another line. Let's go right from the beginning. d4, knight f6. Okay, we won't play knight f3. This is this particular game's continuation. He's played knight f3. We will play, of course, c4. Let's check our move order. g6, knight c3, d5. Here, here, e3. Don't play here. This is another line we want to capture with a bishop on c4. So we play e3, he castles, and queen b3. This is our initial position. We will get it 99% if our opponent wants to play the Gruenfeld, right? So e3, castle, queen b3, and okay, we will very briefly examine this move. This is again this is blissful thinking. It is simply losing a pawn, and yet it has been played a few times. So because black plays the Gruenfeld, he feels entitled to play c5 at any moment and sacrifice this pawn, but we take with a knight and we are simply a pawn up. For example, b6, we just go here, we protect the pawn, and we are one pawn up. Generally, the computer refuses to give a completely winning position, but only a much better one. So knight bd7, let's suppose he tries, we play bishop c2. This is just good enough here, and we castle. We have one extra pawn. Maybe he has very little compensation, but this pawn is a central pawn, and this is too much. So let's go back, and now after queen b3, we examine the second, we examine, sorry, not this. we examine c6. Indeed, this c6 move is a little bit passive, but playable. When black decides to preserve his center, the best moves are c6 and especially e6. This c6 is a little bit tricky. Now we get, as you can imagine, a different version of the Gruenfeld. Somebody may claim, yes, now it would have been wonderful for white to have the bishop outside of the pawn chain. Yes, but this is never going to happen. If you are in such a situation, black will strike dynamically with c5. Black hardly ever plays c6 in the Gruenfeld. His plan is not c6, his plan is c5. Yes, so here, in a sense, we are forcing him to play c6. So here, white has played several moves. You don't even have to remember what to play here. I will show you which moves are good. So h3, this is a very interesting waiting move. h3, we are waiting for him to take on c4. And generally, we want to take on d5 when he plays b6. Very often black plays b6, and this is a good moment to take on d5. So this is an interesting waiting move. After b6, depending on the situation, we may take on d5 or play a4 and a5. So h3, we already know if he takes, and here, this kind of stuff. Very good. And we already know that here we can play a4. We can even ignore his threats. Here, d5, here, e4, for example. Okay, we go back. After c6, more quiet play, more strategical play. So h3. If they tell us play again, bishop e2, short castle, bishop d2, and we are waiting for black to play, for example, this move b6. So here, a4 is very interesting. Very interesting is also to take on d5. For example, a5, but this is seriously weakening his queen side. Can he play this? Well, now we can play a5 or just take it and play a5. We have a very nice initiative here. The position is not at all equal. For example, here and a6. This is not at all equal. Let's describe such a position, please. After b6, I suggest a4, but we don't even have to play this. Let's suppose I play this move. Look, I am waiting to see this move, and now I take it. No, let's castle even first. If he takes on c4, look, now we may even consider capturing with the queen. This is also very good. Okay, look, he goes here, and I repeat, this position is not at all equal. White is better. We play bishop here, and we have very nice play on the queen side with a4, a5, rook f to c1. Here, if he plays here, actually, we will possibly capture on d5. But even if it is not dropping, let's suppose he plays here. So I would have played rook f to c1, intending a4 and a5. For example, he goes here. We may consider this move, bishop e1, or just push a4. We have a very interesting risk-free play. Of course, I'm not claiming that this line or any other line refutes the Gruenfeld, yes, but we can get, I'm claiming that we can get good, interesting positions without theory or with very little theory. So we are here to examine this line, c6. Several good moves for white. One is h3, useful waiting move. We wait and see. Another very interesting move is just bishop e2 intending to castle. We keep all the similar ideas of our position. Together with h3, bishop e2 are very similar. Another very good move, which I like, is this one. a4 after c6. We want to be able to play a5. For example, if black plays queen b6, a very unusual move, we can capture it and take on d5 and isolate his pawns. One interesting way to play is this one, to isolate his pawns, and we have now a very nice advantage in this endgame. After a4, you see, things are not clear for either side, but generally our plan is to play a4, possibly a5. This bishop will go here, the other bishop will go to d2, we castle short, rook f to c1. This is what we do with various move orders. So h3, bishop e2, bishop d3, the computer also likes bishop d3, a4, and even this. The move that I don't like so much for some reason is this, although it has been played hundreds of times. So I suggest h3 or bishop e2 or a4. My favorite moves are h3 and a4. So I like this move a4. Very often, black wants to play this and transpose to the e6 line. This is stable, but a little bit passive. So let's have a look at the possibilities here. For example, after queen b6, we capture it. Can I play queen e3? Yes, 100%. This is also playable. Threatening e7 and threatening also a5. Here a5. Let's say here, bishop e2. I believe our queen will soon go back to b3. For example, after such a move, for sure we go back to b3. Very good. And we have nice play on the queen side. What is happening after b6? After b6, it doesn't work at all. Actually, we have a5 and we capture the pawn. Don't worry if you spend like in total, in your whole life, 4 hours on all these lines, you will learn them once and for all. 4 hours, and they don't have to be in a row. Of course, if you want to spend 50 hours or 30 hours, then you will become a true expert and you will get much better positions even against super strong players. Yes, it is no, this line of the Gruenfeld is no exception. Depending on the effort you will put in, you will get the analogous results. How about the plan with a5? Of course, we will come to that. I have it, in fact, as a main line. After a4, we say, if we want to play a5 generally, after a4, in this position, if dc4, we take with the bishop. If b6, we have a5, and so he plays a5 himself. So now we take on d5, and we use this square on b5. Can he use this square on b4? No, we have better control. Look, both of our bishops are targeting the queen side. The main play, the play will take place on the queen side. This knight is very unstable here. At any moment, I can exchange it with knight a2 or threaten it with knight b5. So let's check. For example, knight c6, rook c1. Can I play other moves? Of course, many other moves. I can play bishop e2, h3, all these moves. Here, we can take it. Let's suppose he plays here, and we don't have any combination, because quite often we have combinations. So we play here, we castle, and we are better, actually much better. Our plan is to take here, if you can believe, and attack like this, knight here. And of course, this resembles the Slav defense a little bit. All these moves, knight b5. Later, we may play such moves in b4. And another playable idea is always this, of course, to double the rooks on an open file. So here, this will come here. As for the bishop, it will be activated after b4 and bishop takes b4. Or sometimes the bishop is activated through this diagonal here and f3, usually not f4, and it can go somewhere here, especially in the endgame. So this is the way to pose a lot of problems, totally playable also by grandmasters. They play like this when they want to avoid unnecessary theory. So here it is, a4, let's try again, a5. Now it's the moment to take on d5. he takes with the knight, for example, again we take it. Now we have strong play on the queen side. Bishop e2, I can even put it on b5. So we castle and bishop here. This position is not at all equal, not at all equal. White has a very nice advantage. For example, h3, generally the computer likes this move, it's not at all necessary. Rook c3 to double the rooks. This b6 pawn is an eternal weakness, and after all, black doesn't have access to this b4 square. Black doesn't really know what to play here. So here we want to double the rooks, bishop c6, and we are better. How about if the bishop was here? Well, maybe this would have been even more preferable, but there is no way to get that. No way. So we are still here investigating this c6 move, and we will play a4 or h3. And let's check a couple of games here. Save. Okay, let's check a couple of games with c6. So let's check this game. From different move orders, it doesn't matter. This is a Slav Gruenfeld. From different move orders, we got to this position. So I suggest a4 or h3. But bishop e2 and bishop d2 are also playable. You can even vary. And if you learn the plans, it doesn't matter which move order you will play. So this is the game. White has a rating of 2336 and black has a rating of 2250. The game was played in 2005. Black played this move, strange move. If b6, let me remind you, a5 takes queen a3. We regain the pawn and we are better. So knight e4, but this is not working because white simply takes here and he is better. Knight takes c3, b takes c3 now. And here, of course, white can even play c4 immediately, but black cannot really prevent c4. He played here, bishop b5, and knight d2 to further control the c4 square. And white is slightly better. Later, he won the game. You can see the whole game later here by yourself. Let's examine one or two more games. For example, this one by Ivan Salgado Lopez. So very famous Spanish grandmaster. So queen b3, c6. He played h3. I like h3 and a4. d4. Black played this dubious move, and yet black has a rating of 2360. Who can do better than him? So bishop takes c4, and he played b5. We already know that after this, we can allow b5 or just play a4, right? We are not afraid of this. We go here, and after this, we have even won a tempo. This h3 is very useful because he can never play bishop g4. For example, he plays here. I would have played e4 with very good play. We are at every time we are looking for dynamic play. So let's see what happened. Black played b5, and we get to these dynamic versions. He played b4, and white played here. According to the computer, this is good, and this is also good. Knight a4. This is also good. In both cases, white, please don't blunder any b3. In both cases, white has a small advantage. So he played here with some attacking ideas, intending e4. And here, later, he won after a few moves. Castle, this became like very full coffee house. Save. Okay. Of course, you will check this and as well as some other games that I have included. Let's check this game between Grandmaster Sipke Ernest and Hamblock Royal. White is 2600, black is 2300. So a different move order coming from the Slav Gruenfeld. This, how is it called? Slav Gruenfeld or Schlechter system, I believe. So white started with h3. Okay, this is a totally different move order. It doesn't matter. Black played a6. What is the theory here? To be honest, I have never seen this move again in my life. What do you think white should play? We are faced with one unknown situations, but we know the plans. We will try to stay as much as we can in well-known areas. Remember, in the opening, it is a far better habit not to play very different things than what I know. We must focus on the typical plans and ideas. Unfortunately, if let's say we were born 100 years ago, then there was enough space for creation in the very first moves of the game. But nowadays, it's too late. Chess has proceeded. The best moves in every situation are already well known, and they are called typical moves, and we need to follow them. So I would have definitely played a4, and black played a5. Now black is even one tempo down. However, there is a small positional threat by black here. Black is threatening to play e6. Look, he wants to play this move, which is anyway very typical here. And from now on, if we take on d5, of course, he will take with his e pawn. So this is the best moment for black. On the other hand, if black plays e6, now he wants to stabilize everything with a5. What will white play here? Of course, beyond any doubt, what will white play? Who will tell us? Black will, of course, white will play a5, of course. And now let me show you one thing. Let's suppose that black plays here. We decide to develop our pieces. This is also interesting, but let's say I play bishop 2. Look, he takes it. We may consider taking with the queen, but let's say we take with the bishop, and he plays here. So far, we have been playing d5 in such positions, but black's pawn was on e7. It was such a situation. Our pawn was not on a5, but on a4, and we would play d5. Here, playing d5 is totally wrong. The correct move is to castle. Look at this position. We are not afraid of the isolated pawn. This is, in fact, a very interesting version of the isolated pawn for white, because black's pieces are suppressed. Okay, so let's see how they played. After a5, who will help us? Which is the correct move for white after all? After a5? The correct move is, of course, c takes d5, and white is better. For example, he takes, we take it, we play bishop d2, we play rook c1, or let's say bishop b5. Let's say bishop b5. For example, here, okay, even d5 may be dropping, let's say by a different move order. We play here, we want to double the rooks. We may even consider improving this knight, putting it here. We double the rooks somewhere here. And white has very good chances. At some moment, we may even consider taking on c6. Very good. Instead, white played bishop d2, and now black should play e6. He did play e6, and now it is not so easy to find a plan. Now, it is difficult for both sides to find a plan. Black cannot push c5 or e5. He doesn't know what to do, but white doesn't know what to do either. I would say this position is slightly better for white in a practical sense. Here, white's plan is after several moves to play, let's say, knight a2 and try to go for b4, bishop e1. So you see, both sides do not know what to do. That's why they play up and down. Here, no side has a clear plan, and I don't really like this move. Bishop takes, and white is maybe doing something. Okay, no, it is interesting for black. It is interesting to take on c4. So in the end, white managed to win, but only after mutual mistakes. Even in the opening, the play was not very clear. Finally, let's check this game, which I like very much. White has a rating of close to 2400 and black has exactly the same rating. So finally, our move order and e3. Don't play queen b3 here. I repeat, this is a different line, queen b3. We play e3. He castles only move, and now queen b3. He goes c6, h3, or a4. He played h3. Also playable is bishop e2 and bishop d2. So b6, he played bishop e2. Can he play a4? Yes, 100%. And bishop d2 and bishop e2, and even take on d5. So here, he castles, knight here, and finally he takes on d5. Why did black wait? Why didn't white take earlier? White didn't take earlier because he is afraid that black will develop his knight on c6. So he is waiting for this move, and only then he takes on d5. It makes a lot of sense. Castle. He played here. If black takes it, we may consider taking with a bishop, but look, this is also very interesting now, because we are not afraid of this. We just go queen a4, for example, and we take it, and we build our position. Again, we will try to play e4 after a few moves. So bishop here, he castles, knight here, we take on d5, he takes with a pawn, and bishop d2, very nice small advantage for white. Here, he played rook f to c1. How will white continue with moves like a4 and a5? For example, if black plays this, very passive position for black, we will play here, and at some moment we will play a5. And if black plays a5 himself, then we have this nice square. Later we may move the queen and play b4. How about this? We will definitely go back to e1 now. Or let's say, let's take here first and play this. I don't know if I'm helping black with my moves, or just play bishop e1 immediately here. So let's see what happened in this nice game. Black played e5 because he couldn't stand the pressure, but this will give him an isolated pawn. Here takes, bishop takes. Let's see, rook c2. And now this is typical play of the isolated pawn all of a sudden. White played a fantastic game here. You need to follow this game very carefully. His play is really very, very good. Black sacrificed the pawn for some activity. I would possibly play the same with black, although his position is bad. And later, white managed to win. Save. Okay. And finally, let's check the lines with e6. So here we go. Lines with e6, which is the best move. Let's check. Actually, let's check from the theory notes. So we reach this position. Black has done his homework, and he plays this move e6. Again, I like the move bishop e2 now. Actually, only bishop e2 is, although bishop d2 has been played. Shall I play this? No. Now there is no bishop g4 ever or anything, so I don't like this. I would prefer to play bishop e2 and castle. This is the best that black can do. Objectively, the position is about equal, but that doesn't really mean anything. We have clear plans. Black needs to know what he's doing. It is equal if he plays b6. If he plays other moves, for example, here, now we are better, we castle, and he takes. I prefer to take with the queen. It's more or less the same, in fact. If here, we all know what to play, because we learn these positions. Who will suggest the best move for white, please? The best move is, of course, a4, very good. So another try, like c6, very passive. We castle, we won't even play a4. We will play now moves like bishop d2, rook f to c1, rook a to d1. We will keep the tension like this. We don't want to take on d5, only maybe much later. And black doesn't know what to do. For example, after b6, I may even try a4. If he plays this, yes, very solid moves, but how will he develop his pieces? At some moment, he needs to play b6. Now we may consider taking, because if he takes with the e pawn, then this pawn on c6 is weak. Ideally, here, black would prefer to have this position, but we never get to this position, right? So here we can play like this, or just bring our forces, all of our forces in the center. Here, organize the position, maybe move back queen c2 and try to play b4 and a4 with a very interesting position. Is this a Slav, semi-Slav? No, not at all. This bishop is misplaced on g7. It's not targeting our king. This would be some sort of semi-Slav, right? The bishop on g7 is misplaced. Very good. So after castling queen b3 and e6, I suggest bishop e2. If he takes here, now I like queen takes c4. Yes, the best way to take with the bishop is when our bishop is on f1. Now I like this move. And again, we are better. Here, okay, here, this is the best move suggested by the computer, so that after bishop a6, we play b5. But even this is not bad. Look here, here, and knight takes e2. Even this is entirely playable for white. So finally, black plays b6, which is the best of the best move. We castle, we are waiting for bishop b7, and now we take on d5. Can I play rook d1? Yes, it is playable 100%. We take on d5, he takes it. So far, both players have played the best moves, which is not at all easy. And now we have two ideas for white, sorry. One attacking idea. The idea is knight e5. It is very interesting. Here an f4. Who will show what is the plan for white now? For example, c5, we ignore it. Or let's say queen e7, we ignore it. Who will point out the plan for white now? What do you think? This plan is taken by another opening. This is a reversed situation. Look, white will play this move. And what is his plan, please? For example, here, his plan is this one. Bishop e1, and we want to go to h4. It's not easy for black to go back. He may lose his d5 pawn here. If this pawn is not hanging, we may temporarily play such moves. But now it is hanging. So black will be forced to make a concession, either play this move or, I don't know, go back to f6. So two plans if we get to this point. One is knight e5 and f4. Here, for example, c5, we ignore it. And we take here, yes, white is better. This hardly ever works. So knight e5, what is the objective evaluation after knight e5? Equal if black plays perfectly, about equal. And another move is the more quiet one, bishop d2. We want to play rook f to d1. Yes, like a reversed stonewall. This position has been played several times. One good way to play is here. Black cannot really play c5 because we will take it and he will have an isolated pawn. He can play c5 only if he wants an isolated pawn. And look now, what is our plan? Our plan can be seen in the final session of the games. So let's check this game, please. I like this game because this is very old. The players have 0 rating, and you can guess why they have 0 rating. It is Grigori Levenfish with the white pieces, because this is before the rating system. So queen b3, this is not going to be our move order. We want knight f3 first and castle. This is another sub-variation, but anyway, they got to this position. Bishop d2. Our move should be bishop e2. I prefer it. Anyway, here, he takes on d5. I prefer to see the bishop on b7 first. Look, here black can possibly, although he played b6, can possibly put the bishop here. This is possibly a better square for the bishop. That's why I want to see this move first and then take on d5. So he took immediately. This game was played in 1933. Castles, knight b7. Look, white plays this quiet plan with bishop d2 and putting the rooks in the center. He played this a4, a6, and here. Now look what happens. He takes here, and he soon won the game. White is better now. He has some nice play there on the queen side. And later he won. Here is another nice plan. Here is another nice plan in this game. Let's check. Well, if black takes with a knight on d5, then our plan will be to play e4 at some moment. Yes? Here, if he takes with a knight. Okay, this I don't want to play. You can play at your own risk. But this doesn't really make a lot of sense. We will castle and prepare this move now. Yes? Here, put our pieces in the center, and we will slowly prepare this move. So that's why they take with the pawn, castles, and here, rook f to d1. Look at this plan, please. a4, a5. We don't really need a4, a5. Look at this plan. We put our pieces like this. This is what it's important to know. We play knight e1, knight d3. And look what white plays in this position with a huge advantage all of a sudden. He plays f4. Careful to play f4 at a good moment. Yes, you must study the games carefully. At a good moment to play f4, not at a bad moment. And this knight was here, goes here. White is much better. The plan is again bishop e1. And here he played e4. If black plays, for example, something like this, we will go bishop h4. And after this, we may even consider capturing it and playing something like bishop f3, for example. Okay, in all cases, we have very interesting play, which is very different than a usual Gruenfeld. So in this position, we can be with this here and play knight e5 immediately, or we can play two plans, bishop d2, rook c1, rook f1, with a4 or without a4. Here he plays a4 so that black will play a5, and then he cannot easily play c5. That's his idea. And here, a nice idea to consider is this here and f4. It can be seen in this game, knight d3 and f4. Save. Okay. Interesting. Will you ever get to this position? I have my doubts. I have played this line several times. I have never gotten to this position. I have played it in Blitz games. So bishop e2, because in standard games, I totally avoid the Gruenfeld, and I prefer the Torre in most cases. We take, actually, we must wait for the move bishop b7 and then take on d5. I think this is more accurate. He played here. So bishop d2, intending rook f d1, rook a c1, knight e1, knight d3, and also this knight e5 is very good. Here and f4. c5, and now not this move, which I have seen several times, but this move, intending bishop e1. For example, here we go back to d1. Here we will possibly play a4, and finally bishop e1, intending to go to h4 with very nice play for white. Here we may consider now g4 or bishop f3, such moves, and we are doing very well. It's not easy for black to organize the move f6. So let's see what happened. Here he played bishop f3. Yes, okay. He played bishop f3, which we will not do. Later it is, however, very interesting to see the game, regardless if they played the same variation with us. And finally, another nice game, which black won in the end, but he was worse. So by a different move order, e6, bishop e2. If c6, we have more options. h3, bishop e2, bishop d2, and a4. If c6, I like mostly h3 and a4. But if e6, I like only bishop e2. You can find several games with bishop d2, but I prefer bishop e2. And however, it's worth it. It's worth your time to study them because you will get a better knowledge of all these typical ideas. So takes, either bishop d2, the more quiet, or knight e5, the most attacking here, and f4 here, and not bishop f3, but bishop d2. Anyway, white was still better with these moves. Bishop d2, again, white is better. Black doesn't really know what to do. For example, after this, we may consider maybe even bishop b4, but queen b4 is enough, and white is better all of a sudden. But instead, white here just blundered. White took on a7, which is horrible, and he forgot that here black can take with check. And so black won in the end, although he could have lost. Very good. So these are the lines. Maybe we can check one last game. Yes, this wonderful game by Grandmaster Miron. Let's check. Queen b3. Our move is going to be knight f3 first. So let's check what happened. He takes here. Better to castle first. And he plays the positional setup. Rook d1, bishop d2, a4. The idea of a4 is to threaten a5, force black to play a5, and now it's more difficult for black to play c5 because he has played a5. So he puts the pieces in the center, and who remembers the right idea for white, please? Who remembers the right idea? Yes, knight takes d5 previously. I'm answering to a friend here. Is strategically wrong. We will organize the move e4, not e4 directly, right? So this is the correct move, knight e1. Bishop here, knight d3, bishop here, and f4. Black, after knight e1, doesn't really know what to do. Yes, even if he plays such moves, it's not easy to suggest a move. We go knight d3, and soon we will play f4. So let's see what happened. f4, very strong, and the knight is coming to e5. Here, black plays such moves because he doesn't really know what to do. Rook f1 is interesting, or bishop e1. Rook f2, very sophisticated play. And finally, g4 and g5, really very interesting. Black is also a very good player. He has a rating of 2200. So white pushed everything. This is really what we call model game. And soon he won. My feeling is that most of your opponents will not, up to a rating of 2200, they may not even know this e6. But even if they know, we have two nice ways to play. One is more risky with a fast knight e5 and f4, and the other one is more positional with bishop d2 and putting the rooks in the center, and later playing knight e1, knight d3. I believe that after these lectures, even without studying, you are ready to play the line. Please start trying it at Bleach games. A very good way to learn an opening line, a new opening line, is by playing countless of Bleach games. So that would be all. This is a wonderful way, in my opinion, to avoid the heavy theory of the Gruenfeld and get fresh, very interesting positions with chances for an advantage. So that would be all for now, and I hope I will see you in half an hour to discuss another nice opening, the King's Indian. Bye for now. We will be back soon.